So I love Russian. I decided to major in Russian after I got home. And it's just such a rich language. That's what Russians always say. The bogатый язык. It's a rich language. And you're just like, yeah, sure, whatever that means, but it is. English has all sorts of exceptions to rules, and it doesn't really make sense half the time. Russian always makes sense. It's got just roots with prefixes and suffixes, and it's almost like a game. It's like a puzzle, figuring out how to say stuff. Word order doesn't matter. Like, that's how you determine stuff in English. You got subject, verb, direct object, indirect object, everything. Russian word order, you can mix all the words up. It'll mean the same thing because you change the word itself. So for example, I'll say, all right, I love you. Я люблю тебя. That's I love you. So ya is the subject form of I. Тебя is the direct object form of you. The normal form is ты, that's you, but тебя if you're being acted on. And люблю is the first person singular conjugation of любить, which is to love. Now, since all those words are their own specific version of that word, I could say тебя я люблю, which is you I love, and it still makes sense because you know that I'm the one doing the loving because of the way the verb is, you're the one being acted on because of the way тебя instead of ты. So it's really a beautiful language that you can just control and manipulate. As soon as you understand the grammar, you can own it, just master it. And it was always really fun on the mission because you might know a verb for something and you want to say like the noun version of the verb, and you just kind of guess. You know, it's like водить is to drive, and you're like, водитель or driver, and they're like, okay, and you're like, is that a word? And they're like, yeah, and you're like, I just made a word. And you know, it makes sense. It's a beautiful language. So there are a lot of missionaries who study a lot of vocabulary, and they kind of master vocabulary, and using a lot of vocabulary they can talk to people. Personally, I loved the grammar a lot more. I delved into it and tried to understand it so I could just manipulate words. And I didn't study vocabulary as much, but since I knew the grammar, I could create words from the words I already knew and sort of own the language that way. So I'd say find whatever works for you, whatever you like. If you can memorize vocabulary, super easy, go for vocabulary. But if you want to just totally understand how the language works, I'd say delve into the grammar and figure out how that works. And I mean, there's not really a right way to learn a language. It's all about you. But I know I love the grammar. Now I talk to missionaries who study vocabulary. I'm like, yeah, you know a lot of words, but you're not quite using them right. But Russians don't really seem to care either way, because I mean, the Spirit's the one that talks to them anyways. So no matter how well that you understand the language and master it, if you teach with the Spirit and do the best you can, then it'll all work out. They'll feel what they need to feel.